Instagram stories for Thursday, August 1st. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. I want to do something a little bit different on the show. Don't worry, it's still Meta related, but I want to give a little bit of context before I play a clip from the head of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg. If you recall, the metaverse was kind of a big deal a couple of years ago, and since then has slowly faded into obscurity when it comes to the news cycle. Why was Meta so interested in the metaverse? The reason they were so interested in establishing the metaverse and being first to publicize it was because of the way platforms have been set up historically. Thinking about the platforms that have come before the metaverse, we had the desktop, laptop world that either ran on Windows or Apple, and then we had the mobile systems, which are running on Apple or Android primarily as operating systems. Here's the difference between some of these platforms. On desktop, on your laptop, you can install whatever program you want. You can go on the internet, find a program that you want to use, whether it's from a reputable company that you know and trust, or a not so reputable company, but you still want to install that program anyway, and you can do it without any trouble, really. When it comes to Apple and Android, those are different types of systems. Apple's is very closed. You have to install an app from the App Store. I know there's hacks, but for the sake of this context that I'm giving, you have to go through the App Store in order to install an app. Android is a little bit more open. You can find a program on the internet and install it on your Android device, and that's okay. Android is more of the open source model. Why am I giving all this context? Why are we talking about this? Because Facebook as a company, Meta, does not quite have the reach that they would like to have into determining what they can do on the platforms when it comes to Apple and Android. They would like to get a lot deeper into those platforms, do more things that get your data, and they're limited because of the way the platforms are set up. Therefore, they're looking at the next platform to ensure that they have all the levels of control that they want to have before someone else steps in, like an Apple, like a Google, and tells them what level of access they can have on these future platforms in the metaverse. Here's the CEO of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, talking about how annoyed he is about this whole issue.
I guess there's a few ways that I look at this. I mean, one is, it's been really fun building stuff over the last 20 years at the company. One of the things that has been sort of the most difficult has been kind of having to navigate the fact that we ship our apps through our competitors' mobile platforms. So, on the one hand, the mobile platforms have been this huge boon to the industry. That's been awesome. On the other hand, having to deliver your products through your competitors is challenging, right? And I also, I grew up in a time where, the first version of Facebook was on the web and that was open. And then, as it transitioned to mobile, the plus side of that was, now everyone has a computer in their pocket, so that's great. The downside is, okay, we're a lot more restricted in what we can do. So when you look at these generations of computing, there's this big recency bias where everyone just looks at mobile and thinks, okay, because the closed ecosystem, because Apple basically won and set the terms of that, and I know that there's more Android phones out there technically, but Apple basically has the whole market, and all the profits, and basically Android is kind of following Apple in terms of the development of it. So I think Apple pretty clearly won this generation. But it's not always like that, right? I mean, if you go back a generation, Apple was doing their kind of closed thing. But Microsoft, which was, it obviously isn't like this perfectly open company, but, compared to Apple with Windows running on all the different OEMs and different software, different hardware, was a much more open ecosystem. And Windows was the leading ecosystem. It basically, in the kind of PC generation of things, the open ecosystem won. And I am kind of hopeful that in the next generation of computing, we're going to return to a zone where the open ecosystem wins and is the leading one again. There will always be a closed one and an open one. I think that there's reasons to do both. There are benefits to both. I'm not like a zealot on this. I mean, we do closed source stuff. Not everything that we publish is open. But I think in general, for the computing platforms that the whole industry is building on, there's a lot of value for that if the software especially is open. So that's really shaped my philosophy on this. And for both AI with Llama and with the work that we're doing in AR and VR, where we're basically making the Horizon OS that we're building for mixed reality an open operating system in the sense of kind of what Android or Windows was, and basically making it so that like we're going to be able to work with lots of different hardware companies to make all different kinds of devices. We basically just want to return the ecosystem to that level where that's going to be the open one. And I'm pretty optimistic that in the next generation, the open ones are going to win. For us specifically, I just want to make sure that we have access to, I mean, this is sort of selfish, but I mean, it's, after building this company for a while, one of my things for the next 10 or 15 years is like, I just want to make sure that we can build the fundamental technology that we're going to be building social experiences on, because there have just been too many things that I've tried to build and then have just been told, nah, you can't really build that by the platform provider, that at some level I'm just like, nah, that. For the next generation, like we're going to go build like all the way down and make sure that
there goes our broadcast opportunity.
Yeah, no, sorry.
I'm going to stop the clip there for two reasons. Number one, he said a curse word, and this is a family-friendly show. I don't care if you are the CEO of Meta. You do not curse on my show. I bleeped it out. Hopefully I did a good job. Second, he said in that clip, it is completely selfish, the reason why they want to control the metaverse. I just really think this is important to be aware of and understand from a technology view as a whole, but also since I spend so much time talking about Meta as a company, what they're doing on Instagram, how they're competing with TikTok, to show that they are trying to plan for the level of control that they need for whatever technology comes next. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, is going to talk about whether or not you should make highly polished content or not. Hint, you probably don't need to. So stick around. Oh, hey, welcome back. Have you ever thought that your content should be filmed on a better camera with more lighting, more production quality, and that's what would make more people want to enjoy your content? That may or may not be true. Here's the head of Instagram talking about whether or not content needs to be highly polished to do well on the platform.
Some advice on high production value content. A lot of creators think that they have to create really, really polished content to do well on Instagram. But you really should evaluate whether or not high production value is aligned with your goals when you're using Instagram. Now, if you are doing branded content deals with premium or luxury brands, then yeah, it might make sense to try and create that really, really polished look. But if you are a musician or an athlete or a comedian, honestly, it might work against you. It might make your content a lot less relatable. So think about whether or not being polished is aligned with the story that you want to tell and the brand that you want to build, and then decide based on that. Good luck. Peace.
Well, there you have it. Focusing on the goals that you want to achieve on the platform is probably going to be a better use of your time than spending more effort on high production quality, buying lighting, buying a better camera, and all those other things that you could potentially do. That is going to do it for today's episode. Hopefully you found this valuable. If you could, please go on Apple Podcasts, leave a review of the show. It would really help others to find it, and I would appreciate it. Be sure to come back next time for more social media news, strategy, and other things that you need to know.
Let me tell you a couple things that you should know about me. A product manager, but do not have a bachelor's degree. But actually, that's factually a fraction of me. Another fraction's posting content irregular and irrationally. Still probably won't get a job at the Gram. They forgot, they don't know, or don't care who I am. That's why you never see me at the parties and events. My lack of followers must make me irrelevant. Don't have a course, a book to sell to make a bag of grand. Not a social media marketer, don't represent any brands. Plain to see, don't have an agency, but I got a lot of spam. Just putting in my work, without the glitz and glam. Won't catch me eating fish, unless it's shrimp or clam. No six pack, no risk that, there's a gym card in my hand. Don't have a full-time job, but I got a lot of plans. Stay plotting, dropping knowledge on TikTok and Instagram.